Yeah, check it out. You could throw whoever on there, and then, like I said, it's been really cool for us, and it's helped us kind of communicate versus. I mean, we still use Slack for real quick, pings, but this is if you Slack. I mean, you don't want to. It's like texting a novel to someone. You don't want to get that and respond back. This is like, all right, if it's going to be a novel, I'm just going to hop on Pragley real quick, and hopefully this guy can answer. This girl can just hop on and just knock it out, and then you're on to the next thing. So yeah, check that out. Let me know what you guys think.
This is the real estate investing experience. We get it. Real estate can be rough sometimes, and that's why we bring in the experts to talk about the experiences you won't hear anywhere else with your hosts, John Cohen and Chris Grinzik.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Investing Experience. I'm your host, Chris Grinzik, and with me, as always, is John Cohen. How are we doing, bud?
We are good. We had a deal go live last week in Alabama, which is going to be an awesome deal to go Portofino.
Nice.
Portofino is listed on market with a great price. So it'll be awesome to see that deal through. That was the first really heavy lifting like super heavy lift. Now it was 342 units vacant. We spent about $11.5 million on construction, or 11.5, 12 million, give or take. And super excited to see that one through, because we are going to actually come out good, like really good. So it's going to be an awesome deal. So that was launched last Wednesday. So tomorrow will be about a week. The first report we got from the broker yesterday was just phenomenal, as every deal on the market is. Yeah. So we're interested to see how tours go, where offers come, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Very cool. And did you guys end up renovating every single unit, or is there still stuff left to do? How did that end up shaking out?
No, it was 342 units, 100% renovated, on the roofs, on the windows, on the siding, on the parking lot, new clubhouse. The real value is that we spent, a ton of money, all new electric, all new plumbing. Everything is soup to nuts new. Through lease up, you obviously have first generation leases, second generation leases. We just started putting washer dryers in to gauge that, and we're getting a great premium for washer and dryers. But the delta between, like, our first generation lease was $600, we're getting $800 now average. Mm-hmm. So someone's going to step into that, and you're going to have a $200 pop on the old, 200, 150, 100. As you get closer to 800, you're not going to have to do anything except raise rents. So someone's going to step into a super stable deal. We're 98% occupied, 100% pre-leased. So someone's going to step into that and just have a ton of just operational upside, because we did the heavy lifting. Now it's just someone go put good agency debt on it, hold it, cash flow, let this market do its thing, and sell it for a 30 IRR in 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, if somebody wasn't convinced that John Cohen was a commercial broker in his past life, that should have just convinced you. So if you're looking for a deal and you want to make a ton of money, have John Cohen listed for you.
Yeah, exactly.
4.0 commercial brokerage incoming.
Yeah, yeah, coming soon, because we can't buy shit. Because if you want the moment we put my buyer hat on, the world's coming to an end, right?
Yeah, exactly.
These deals don't make sense. But if I'm going to sell you something, I will quote, and this is a very filthy line, but I will quote City on the Hill, Kevin Bacon. I can sell a dick brownie to a dyke on a diet,
which is pretty filthy.
Pretty filthy and vulgar, but I heard that line the other day, and I've been waiting to use it. So, and I'm sorry if I offended anybody there, but it was a good one.
It is what it is, right? Not your original word, so.
No, it wasn't. I quoted it.
There you go. Awesome, but that's awesome to hear. Super curious to see how it ends up turning out, because it's always, when a deal goes full cycle, it's never exactly how you thought it was going to play out, or at least it isn't for us. So, it's always fun to see it go completely full cycle and what it shakes out at, actually, because as you know, and I'm sure most people listening, what you expect to happen almost never happens. So what ends up happening is always the fun part.
Yeah, no, this one's going to be fun, because this one, talk about heartburn. Renovate 342 units vacant. Let's let the deal sell and transact, and we can do a deal dive on it, because there's a ridiculous amount of stories I can tell about it. But It was a super fun deal. We bought it in 2017 or 2018, right around there, middle to end of 2017. So 4 years, full cycle. Awesome project, and it's actually going to turn out to be a a really good one. So we're excited.
Awesome. Love it. But let's jump into today's episode. We got a great guest on today. Excited to have him on. Got the opportunity to actually meet in person about, God, was it a month ago now? Time's flying as fast as I think it is. But happy to have him on, share his story with you guys, his experience, insights, etc. So with that being said, Brad, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I think it was a month, maybe a little over a month ago. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Really
and I
is.
was actually in Mobile, Alabama when I think John was telling me about this project. I had good intentions to get over and look at the apartments, but it was when I rolled into Alabama to Mobile, I thought I'd have a little more free time, and it ended up just being chaos. So I didn't get a chance to go over and pop over, but I know it wasn't terribly far away. So good to hear. Hopefully that turns out really well for you.
Yeah, we're excited.
Awesome. So kick us off, Brad. Tell everybody a little bit about you, your background, what you do, all that good stuff.
Yeah, Brad St. Onge, head of partnerships and strategy with InvestNext, and I've been with the company about 2 years, but I've been in investor relations and capital raising for about 4.5 years. So, and that's how I met the InvestNext team and the InvestNext guys. So. Matthew, Michael, Kevin. So it was three guys startup from Detroit. I was raising capital in Ann Arbor, about 45 minutes, maybe an hour with traffic down the road. We needed a solution to help us manage our investors, all of our investments, to showcase our metrics, help capital raise, etc. So started looking around, found the InvestNext guys, and then we ended up hitting it off, jumping ship. I found myself migrating more towards helping them, and then kind of more focused on helping them. Anytime I had ideas that I thought would be pretty cool for the portal to adapt or edit, I'd throw them their way, and vice versa. They help me because they'd throw me stuff and say, hey, this ABC group's doing this way, or lean investment group is doing it this way, etc. So I think it helped me capital raise too. But I just found myself trying thinking about the software. So when I had an opportunity to jump ship, left the investor relations role, and then just came over and started now I work with a bunch of different investor relations people and kind of help them try to utilize the portal, utilize the platform to make their days a little more efficient, and then to help the investors in visibility and transparency to the investors. So it's kind of it in a nutshell. Yeah.
Gotcha. And if you had to describe InvestNext in like a sentence or two, what exactly is it, just in case that wasn't clear for everybody?
Say it's an investment management software that helps private equity firms, not just multifamily syndication, but private equity firms utilize technology to increase transparency to their investors, which is the ultimate goal. And at the end of the day, hopefully create more time for you guys that are creating capital. So you're not doing these minute tasks or answering basic questions that your investors may have. They should have it all at the fingertips, and hopefully avoid asking, where's my distribution, or how much money have I received, et cetera. So those basic questions they should be able to find answers to on the portal.
Perfect. Question that I am curious about, as you were just talking, when did you start getting into like the capital raising, investor relations side? How long ago was that?
About 4.5 years ago.
Okay.
And I was doing banking before that. So I got into a little bit into banking and didn't really like that too much. It's about 2 years for a bank, which is essentially just customers coming in and yelling you about them overdrafting their funds. And then I had to deal with that, which wasn't what I signed up for, but actually that's what I'm doing.
I can attest to that. I literally just sent another email today with this is the promise of the threat. If it's not fixed today, we're switching banks. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I'd get those emails.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious to hear from your standpoint, because with Toro, I did some capital raising, but not a ton. But I mean, I was pretty involved in everything. But I guess curious to hear from you how you've seen things change over the past 3, 4, 5 years. As technology continues to get better, as it seems to feel like more and more people are getting into the space, as you've kind of changed sides of the coin, maybe. Just curious to hear what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah, the whole COVID thing, I think, has made your reach a lot greater than it used to be, because we would speak to investors and it'd be all on the phone. So I'd have a mobile conversation, which was hard to do. It was mostly email. I would try to get someone on the phone so you can go over a deal, or especially if it's a potential investor, because then you start trying to build out the relationship that way. Nowadays, I mean, we 2 years ago, it was tough getting someone on a Zoom call just for a weekly status call. Now everything's Zoom. And I think it helps you build your relationship, but kind of gets the point across a little more. And you can show, like we're showing people, at least for now, the software side, we're showing people how to utilize the software. And I think if I would have had Zoom more when I was on investor relations, I think it would have helped out and helped educate the investors a little more, because you could show them. We had a fund that we'd raise for, so we'd have 5 different properties that we'd be buying, and it'd be staggered. So we'd buy one, January of 2017, June 2017, and et cetera. So it was 5 different waterfalls that we were paying out based off of the sale of the property. And I think it would have been a lot easier to have some sort of graph, or to be able to show them face to face on Zoom versus over the phone, because it was mostly, like I said, a lot of people don't want to hop on a phone call anyway. And it was through an email. And I'm trying to tell them, all right, this, you give us $100,000, 18 months, the first property should sell, and you should get X amount of money. And then the next property should sell, you should, almost have all your pref paid back, and then your return of cash. And it was kind of tough when you're doing that through email or through phone. So I think this pandemic has crazily, it made it, at least the relationship a lot better, but then you can expand your reach. So now you see meetups, and I'm sure you guys have jumped on a bunch of meetups or even the podcast. So these meetups used to be all like, I used to go to one in Toledo or Ann Arbor just because they were local, but now I'm hopping on some over in Seattle, or I'm hopping on one in Tampa, or I'm hopping. So this whole COVID thing, as bad as it is, and it's terrible, and obviously I don't want to say anything's good out of it, but I think it's helped networking tremendously, and helped this industry specifically. You should have been pounding the pavement and hitting these different meetups if you're going to grow your network, and I think this has been phenomenal for it. As bad as it is to say, but
yeah, no, I agree. I think even less on the capital raising side, but just the rise of technology. I was just in Nashville this past weekend for a buddy's small conference, and I probably met 7 or 8 people that I've known for either a few months or a couple years that I'd never met in person until then. And it's just really crazy to see that become more of the trend of, you talk to people, you see them, you interact with them, you feel like you're friends, and you've just literally never met until a certain point. So I think that's just going to become more and more prevalent. And I think in the capital raising side, it does make it a little bit easier, where, the rise of webinars, or, the meetups or podcasts, or just jumping on one-on-ones, where it's, putting a face to a conversation, because a, phone call can be somewhat unintimate. And I think it helps with that a lot, which is, if you're trying to gain somebody's trust or win over somebody's trust and, raise money from them, that's a big part of it.
Yeah. And it's crazy how, when it first started, and I don't know if you remember this, but you would see me with a B. So I would never get on my camera. Even if I had hopped on a Zoom call, you wouldn't see my face. Like, majority of the people we'd hop on these calls with, if you did have a Zoom call pre-COVID, no one was even showing their camera. You'd just be, so you're talking to, either a name on the screen, or just some, like for me, it'd be a B or whatever picture I threw on there. So I think it's helped, loosen people up, and at least jump on it. Like, I never get on a call now and people aren't showing their face, where it used to be probably over 50% of the time, if they did hop on these status calls that we'd have, it was just kind of a blank screen, which again helps build that relationship.
So it's funny, because I've been voiced my opinion on this exact topic, and it's like, once the pandemic hit, the phone went to shit, right? You never picked up the phone anymore. It was like, jump on Zoom. And I go back to say, listen, I like networking, talking to people, and meeting people, but let's have a conversation first, right? Because I agree, now technology has just cast this ridiculous net, right? So there's more people raising money than ever. There's more investors than ever. And at the end of the day, nothing fundamentally has changed other than the reach, right? Like you said, I can go network in San Diego now, sitting in my house, throw a stupid background on. I look like I'm there. I'm just not there. But at the same time, I still like, hey, let's jump on a call. Let's have a 20-minute call. But the other day, someone wanted to buy one of our properties, and they sent out a Zoom invite. I'm like, wait a second, why are there 18 people on this call? Like, let's just have a call. Let's see if there's something here. Then we could jump on Zoom. And I don't mind it. Listen, I don't mind showing my face, jumping on camera, but it's you're right. Before a year ago, you never put your camera on. How frequently did you use your camera when you were doing anything? Now it's like, that's the norm, right? It's like, wait, what's wrong with this guy? Why isn't he doing that? And it's weird because, I still think the phone call is important, but now everybody wants to just go right to the Zoom. And I get it. I understand it, but I still like and prefer, that first introduction to fleet. Let's see if there's any synergies, then let's get on the call. But I am not in the norm. I am definitely the opposite. Most people are jumping right on calls, right out of the box, which, it's great, right? Like you said, the pandemic aside, what's the new norm is fantastic, right? You never have to leave your house and you can accomplish so much. But at the same time, I still think that, it's important to make sure you use all the tools you have, not just this one, because just because you see someone, like anything else, you make sure you go through that sequence of events, which I still prefer.
And I think I find myself more and more going back to, if someone asks for a call too, I'm like, for where I am now. So getting back to like where I was or where I am now, I'd rather show you on a Zoom call just for what I do. And this is like a different scenario. I know it probably works for you, but it makes my day, and my day is jam-packed as it is. But I know this could be a 2-minute phone call where I could show you and say, hey, this is where you do this way. And I need you to be on there so I can show you this, versus I'll have some people go like, hey, can you really just call me real quick? And I know what they're emailing me about to have them to call. And I know that I'm not going to be able to show them or make them better with the portal or fix their issue by just going over the phone with them where I need. So there are some things that I really love having the Zoom call, but there are some things where it could be a real quick call where I'll just be like, based off of whoever it is, I pretty much know where they are in the scheme of things. I'll be like, all right, I can call them real quick. Yep. Or one of the technologies that we use, and I probably jam you with this, John, but it's Loom. So this Loom video has saved me a ton of time. So if I know I've got something I need to show you, and we could jump on a call, I could show you it on the call. But if I know it's going to take me a minute and a half to show you this thing versus me scheduling a call, sending you a Zoom link, and now I'm waiting 15 minutes because that's the next time it's open, or waiting for you to respond when you're said, hey, can you hop on a call? So instead of me emailing you back saying, yeah, I could hop on at 10:30. How's that? And then me waiting for you, I'll go to Loom. I'll make a video real quick, because you're real good at whenever you have issues or questions like, hey, this is the issue, or this is what I need. And then I'm like, all right, I can knock that out real quick. I go to Loom, make a 1.5-minute video or 3 minutes, whatever it may be. And I'm like, boom, boom, boom. Hopefully this answers your question. It's usually me rambling about something, but then I throw it over to you. And then I even know when you watch it too. So if I could see if you've watched it. And then I know you're watching it. And if I don't get a response, I'm like, all right, that answered the question. Or if I do get a response, it's usually like, yeah, no, you missed the mark there, but but it kind of speeds it up versus me maybe waiting 15 minutes on Zoom to see if you've hopped on. So that's one thing that technology has definitely done that I didn't use 6 months ago, that I use maybe more than I should, but I think we found a lot of our clients really enjoy that, and it speeds up my day and doesn't slow me down, especially if I hop off a call now, I have 9 minutes before my next call. I know I can knock off a couple emails real quick with 3 quick Zoom call or Loom calls, and then boom, and then I'm back to, not really missing a beat. So
that was definitely clarified, right? I think the role that you play, and I've done it, right? Hey, Brad, I have a quick question. I get a Loom video, I watch it, I knock it out. I've even started doing that with some, remote help. Is, hey, this is how I do something, right? I just scroll through it, I send it, it's saved. If I ever have to send it again, the time saved is phenomenal, right? When you're meeting someone for the first time and you want to jump on a Zoom call me first, right? But from your standpoint, I agree 100%. For you to get on a phone and walk someone through an application technology-wise, I agree. Jump on a Zoom call, share my screen, watch this. Or like you said, if you're really busy, instead of waiting a month or a week or 2 weeks or an hour, I have 10 minutes, let me knock out a video and send it. So I think that there are definitely advantages that the pandemic has forced people to adapt to. And in the different situations, it makes sense to jump on a quick call. Because I've even found myself doing it. Chris and I do, hey, check this out, right? And when you can share your screen and do something and interact so quickly, a phone call is going to be, try this. Okay, do you see this? Do you see that? You don't have to do that. So I think that That component is phenomenal. The Loom videos and being able to share and show things quickly as if you were in an office and say, hey, come into my office, come to my desk and watch. You can do that so quickly now. And you can do that with people all over the world. We've had people on our podcast from Israel, right? And just everywhere you can interact so quickly. That component is amazing. The introduction networking component, it's like, listen, we never met before. Let's talk. Let's get on a Zoom call. Then we can get coffee, or if I'm in the area. But no, I agree with that 100%. I think that what technology's allowed us to do and answer questions quickly has been phenomenal.
And another tech we've found that might be good if you guys are hopping on, or if you're in an office setting. So what we use is something called Pragly. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Pragly, Pragli. So it's essentially like an office. So Pragly is set up, and hopefully I'm not ruining it for the Pragly guys and just completely butchering what they're trying to do. But we've got, all of our management team is on Pragly, or the whole team actually is on Pragly. And it's essentially like an office. So I could pull, if I saw you were in Pragly, I could see you're in the office, and I wanted to talk to you real quick, I could ping you, John, and it'll knock on your door. If you're busy, you just let it go. Or if you're cool talking real quick, you hit accept, and now we're on essentially a Zoom call that's right there and it's live. So you and I can go, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? So it's basically like you're going up to someone's door, knocking on the door, and then they're either letting you in or they're like, I'm busy right now. But then we'll have rooms where we all just hop on. If we have any work calls, we'll hop and get on that. But we have so many different where developments hops on calls with there real quick, or they pull someone in real quick. And it's better than, hey, let's get that Zoom link out. And it's been phenomenal for us. So it might be good for you guys to just because you can see who's logged in, and then, like I said, you can knock on the door if they answer, cool. If not, then they're busy, and then you can ping them some other way. But it's a real quick way to pull someone in real quick if you only have a couple minutes and you're like, all right, there they are, not doing anything. There's also like a water cooler section where if someone's just with this virtual world, we've got people in Canada, we got people over in San Diego, Santa Barbara, we're out of Detroit area, and especially the guy in Canada. So Jay over in Hamilton, Canada has been locked down, and he literally goes outside and it's like the greatest thing of his day because he can't do anything. So he'll just hop in the water cooler just to talk to people, or just to like, all right, I've been grinding for 3 hours. Who wants to chat? It's funny when someone sees him, because you'll hear when someone goes into like one of the rooms, and then you can hop on real quick and just chat with them 15 minutes, and it makes people's day. If you're just stuck in a location where like I've got this little co-working space up in Michigan, and it's tiny. So if I get bored, I can, usually I can go walk and talk to someone, but he can't. And so it just makes the day, and makes his better, probably mentally for him to kind of do that. So Pragly has been another good software we've used that. And I think it's still free too. So it's
yeah, I'm on the website right now. I think it's interesting because we've been talking about getting rid of the office, because it's a chunk of money, and I'm going to the office 3-4 days a week now. But even still, our lease is coming up. So it's, the question you have is, do you do it or not? So this is something, it says sign up, it's free. So I will,
check it out. You could throw whoever on there. And then, like I said, it's been really cool for us, and it's helped us kind of communicate versus, we still use Slack for real quick, pings. But this is, if you Slack, you don't want to, it's like texting a novel to someone. You don't want to get that and respond back. This is like, all right, if it's going to be a novel, I'm just going to hop on Pragly real quick, and hopefully this guy can answer. This girl can just hop on and just knock it out. And then you're on to the next thing. So yeah, check that out. Let me know what you guys think.
Yeah. So as you're talking to, people raising capital, are you seeing different ways people are using technology besides, I think everybody right now understands how Zoom can be utilized. Are you seeing anything different that people are starting to integrate? Like, are they using Loom for I can see people using Loom for FAQs, right? Like how to go through, an investment summary or something like that. Are you seeing any unique ways people are using technology through COVID?
Yeah, that's exactly how we're doing it. So we're building out help articles, and this has helped tremendously. So we're trying to point everyone. First step is try to see if you can find a help article, and then hit our support up. We're always trying to help whenever we can, but like I said, the day might get a little crazy. It could be something real quick. We still have little snapshots of how to walk you through, and we find that works pretty well. If it's getting into the weeds of something we know, it's like creating an e-signature template or something, we'll make a video for that where it's like, all right, you're going to have 40 snapshots if I have snapshots that'll show you. I like that since we've been sending this out, some adopt this when they're actually emailing their investors, especially if they're new. So they'll do a video of them executing documents or reserving documents. So you can send out a link whenever you're capital raising to your investors. The investors can click on the link, they can see the deal room, they can then reserve shares so you can get soft commitments. If you have your templates already in there, they can then execute the documents, and then they can actually send the money now through the portal, so they can send ACH at the very end. So it's all in one step. And people that don't know that or are used to filling these documents out, we've seen some that'll go through as an investor and say, all right, here, Mr. or Mrs. Investor, this is what you're going to experience. You're going to get this link, you're going to click on it, you're going to hit reserve now, you're going to reserve your share, et cetera. And it kind of walks them through. So I've seen some do that, and I think that eliminates any questions that some people are going to have. Because I mean, to be honest, there's some mature people that are on these. A lot of these investors are probably mature in life, and my dad's terrible with technology, so this would help him hopefully walk through it. I'm sure he'd probably still have issues, but that's another question for my dad. But most, I think, if they can watch the video, if they actually do watch the video, we'll walk through that process a lot easier, and then hopefully at the end of the day, increase more time for you guys to do something besides telling an investor how to click a link and then just follow certain steps. So, so I've seen that I think is pretty powerful too.
Gotcha. Have you found that, it's been very challenging to get, less tech savvy people onboarded and working through the system, and that capital raisers have had problems? Or, do you find that when you kind of lay it out step by step, you have all these videos that, people are fairly willing to put in a little bit of effort and work to figure it out, and maybe they always need a little bit of help, but it's not as bad as you think?
I think it depends on the actual individual, but it should be relatively easy. The problem I have is sometimes they'll forget their username, or they've created the password, and then they're not following the prompts to the forgot password prompts and all that, and then they're just frustrated. So a lot of what we see is just from the investor side is just they forget their username or password, and then they can't figure out how to get in, and they're just immediately frustrated. But that's just they just don't they're just not writing it down or not using the same one. I don't know, they're just thinking of something kind of random and putting it in there. But usually the technology should be good. I mean, technology is going to break, something's going to happen. So I'm not going to say it's going to be 100%, but I mean, we use HelloSign to execute our documents, and every once in a while, we'll have a HelloSign error, and it's just that we've got to deal with that, which isn't our software, but it reflects as our software, obviously, because it's it's part of the integration. And we'll just diagnose the issue, find the copy or whatever's been filled out, pull it back, and then typically they're not losing data. It's a problem if they were to finish all the documents, then all that data is lost. But typically we can go back in HelloSign and do a little deep dive and find everything, and then hopefully make it seamless for the investor. They're not adding all that stuff again, because it's it's a little pain once you go through it once. But I've actually seen some of our clients, so some syndicators who want to try to dumb it down as much as possible, and they think that their investors aren't smart enough to go through and do it because they've done it another way. But if you just send it out there, I mean, a lot of these people can figure it out, which I've had some try to create their own username and passwords, which I highly do not recommend. Like, just send them a link, click the link. If they watch the video, they should be able to follow through. And a lot of them are smarter than I think some give them credit for. But I've seen some are just a little comprehensive, and then it's like, all right, just what I always tell them is we'll walk you through a capital raise, especially your first couple. Like, I'll handhold if you need me. Hit me up if I know you have a capital raise. Especially if it's over the weekend or something, I'll kind of keep an eye on it as I'm going. But if your investors ever have issues, we always say, route them to us. Well, we're here to. I mean, that's part of the service is we're here to kind of help you out, and you're not going to be a master at the technology. So if your investors are having issues that you're trying to somehow diagnose that you don't know about, route them to us. That's what we're trying to do, and then we have no problem hand holding those investors, just trying to get through whatever it is. Usually it's something. like a pop-up blocker on their site, or just something they're just not familiar with, which is usually a quick fix or something. Maybe the screen's zoomed in too much and they can't see some stuff on the right side, or so it's usually easily fixed. So.
Mm-hmm. As you're talking to different groups and as you do yourself, are there any techniques that you've seen people utilize that have really worked very well or made the process very pain-free, whether it's bringing in inbound leads or, guiding them through a funnel or getting them from, interested lead to actually invested lead?
We've got a form capture that's utilized a lot especially for like prospective or potentials. So there's like a register button that you can add to your login homepage, and you can mock up that to whatever you want. So you can put custom fields in there and ask them a bunch of different stuff. Are you accredited? That'll help out with that. How much money do you have to invest? I like that one too, because then you can kind of build a pipeline, or at least see how much they have. Maybe they invested 50,000, but they put 250,000 on that. So you have about 200 grand left for the next deal. And then that'll follow back, and then you can easily, search and filter for all that stuff. So if you have something specific that you want to know about, like the accredited investor, you can see who's not. And if you have, for some reason, have a 506B down the road, or you can accept those non-accrediteds, you can then search the system, and it'll help with that. I think we're trying to get to a point to how do we differentiate what the portal is versus what an active campaign is, or what can you do? And I don't think these are ever going to be an active campaign. I know we're trying to make it to where you can hopefully have one location where you're doing all this, but active campaign does some crazy, awesome, amazing stuff. They're worth, I think, $1 billion, a couple $1 billion. But that's all they do is those drip campaigns, smart, intelligent, based on all that stuff. So it's how do we get that data into InvestNext, or you're changing it, maybe they read back and forth. So we're integrating with Zapier currently, and I'm not sure how that all looks from the different CRMs, but I do think there is a lot of value in still having a HubSpot or an active campaign, or because you can then focus a campaign that'll try to grab all that info you're looking for. And then once they get to the point, you don't even have to have them in our system until they're an active investor. You could still run potentials and all that. But once you get to the point where you want them to invest in our deal, you send them that deal room link. You have that form. If they don't have a username and password, they can fill all that stuff out, and then you can collect that data again when it's closer to the capital raise, or whatever you want to see. So you may have asked them 3 years ago, but then once it gets closer, the system's just going to ask them again. They're going to fill all that out. You're not going to do anything because you're going to have the form already templated, and then just captures, and then it should track it all in the system. So yeah.
So John, I'm curious because you've changed to InvestNext since I was there, I believe. And I'm curious if the system that we implemented at all has changed, because what we would do is we started that active campaign email where somebody filled out a capture form. They would get a drip email campaign to book a call. We would jump on a call with them. And then if they booked the call, I think that's when we would put them into whatever the investor database was. Is like, okay, look, if we like them, we think they're serious, we think they're good investors, they meet all the criteria, they're not just in the active campaign. It was kind of a way to separate, call it warm leads versus cold leads, or, bullshit leads, whatever you want to designate it as. Has that still been working? Have you changed it up at all? Like, where are you at with that process?
Yes, I didn't even know. So I'm still using the active campaign for active campaign, right? I have not used Zapier to integrate investing. I was going to ask you the question: is there a way to get those people in? I like listen, I think active campaign for marketing and the drip campaign is perfect, right? I don't think the portal, that's the best use of it, right? It has so many other features, but it would be nice to get the investors in there, so then you could send them the deal room. So I have not changed, our active campaign is still there, right? The campaign, and I've been tweaking it. And then I just have basically a deal set up for all the investors that come through that portal. And then once they either have a call, the follow-up's been booked, I send them the follow-up, they sit there and they get tagged. And then if I was raising the capital, I would download that, upload it to InvestNext, and then I would send them the deal. That's how I've been going about it, but I'm technology illiterate, so there's probably a better way to do it. But that's how I've gone about it. I've let ActiveCampaign handle the marketing automation, and I've used InvestNext for distributions, investor reporting. We did a quasi capital raid. It was simultaneous. And then we've been the investor reporting, the distributions, and what we used to use for like investor relations. That's what I'm using InvestNext for. For the marketing stuff, ActiveCampaign is super powerful. We've just been running it through there. That's how we've gone about it. If there was a way to link them, I know you could use Zapier and like forward emails and stuff like that, but if I'm spending my time on that stuff, I'm probably not spending my time on what I should be. So, but no, I've tweaked the process. I haven't changed it though.
Gotcha. So Brad, I have a question for you too, because I think this comes back to, just a problem everyone has, right? There's so many different software options out there for everything, right? It doesn't even have to be capital raising in general. And sometimes you feel like you're running. I mean, you talked about using Zoom, Loom, was it Cragly, Slack? I'm sure you use an email like Gmail. Then you're talking ActiveCampaign and Zapier, and maybe you use something like, we use Monday.com for like, it's like you got freaking 40 different platforms you're on, and it's like, this constant battle of trying to do, all within one or separating it out. So like, how do you think about that stuff as someone who's like in the software space or the tech space a little bit more of like, what's too much, what's too little, how do you look at a piece of software and really understand like, hey, here's what it should be used for, here's the bucket it should fit in, and it shouldn't go outside of it. Like, is there any way to really do that, or is this just a feel thing?
Yeah, I think it's probably client by client, but I mean, our goal is to try to expand and try to take as much away from like an ActiveCampaign or a HubSpot. But I mean, can we do it? I don't know. I mean, that's, like I said, there's a lot of value in those, and is our time maybe more spent on some of these other ideas that we have that's we think are going to make better for asset management of the property, or et cetera, just different things that we think maybe, because you've got a solution for it right now, we're trying to solve maybe other issues that you maybe don't have a solution for. So we always go back and forth with that, but the Zapier, what we're currently doing, the Zapier integration. So once that's done, it hopefully should pull more data, but I don't know what that looks like. So I don't know what it's pulling in, what it's not pulling in. I think our goal is to hopefully not have you on 20 different platforms. Will we get rid of an ActiveCampaign for you? I don't know. It depends how much you're really doing. Monday.com. We have some clients that use that. They really love that. Some of the functionality we can take away, some we can't. Mm-hmm. So it's I think maybe a couple, but I don't know what is too much and what is. I mean, we as a software company have so many different software companies that we use too on my end, and I'm always like, all right, well, where should I put this one? Mm-hmm. So I understand the pain here, and hopefully we can maybe get an answer that makes sense down the road. But I think it's focusing on that. What can you really take away from ActiveCampaign and not spend millions of dollars to try to develop to do that? Like what and then how intense is your marketing? How intense is your drip campaigns? And all? If it's basic, you can still do everything in InvestNext. So we have a lot that we'll use it just for everything. Use it for the CRM. Use it for the back end, like John was saying, pain distributions. That's always a pain. So having that streamlined helps out tremendously. But I don't know. I think you're still going to have a couple. Even if we make something, is it going to do everything that you want it to do? Maybe not. And I don't know what that looks. That's going to be probably a ways down the road of development and been putting time and effort. But there's other things that we're kind of focusing on that are probably going to take place before. Hopefully, the Zapier integration does a lot of that pulling in. So at least if you're updating in one system, like a new address, it's updating, and updating in the portal as well too. So I think there's a few things that we can make it a little more easier. But I mean, you could still do mass email marketing and all that stuff in the portal, but it's just how crazy of a drip campaign and how intense do you want it to be, and how much data you're pulling from LinkedIn and et cetera. I mean, ActiveCampaign is, you need a master's degree to kind of figure it out, but once you do, it's it's insane some of the stuff that it does, so.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I was going to ask you next is I know there's a lot of people that specialize in setting up these systems and processes, whether it's, Active Campaign or Salesforce or, different platforms like Monday or Asana. Do you think that it's really worth considering for people investing in somebody helping you set it up when you're going into a new platform, especially if you're like an established business? Or is it really worth the time sitting down and figuring it out yourself so you understand the platform, how it works? And yeah, maybe it's taking away time, but if something breaks or updates, you're not relying upon someone else. Is there like a good answer for that? Or again, it's kind of specific?
It's crazy because the bigger companies actually have departments for all that. So they have an accounting department who really loves getting in and figuring out the distribution waterfall and making sure it's correct. And then they transfer from their old way of going to the bank to do it. And they really get in there. So these bigger companies that we use, the investor relations department wants to get in and learn everything about creating a deal room. They don't want to farm that out. They want to know everything that way. If it breaks, or if there's something they created in the form that's incorrect, they know where to go in the HelloSign document and change it to where it's maybe not a required field where it was required and people didn't need to fill it out. I think with those bigger companies, they have so many people that are specialized in these different departments where we see them wanting to kind of dive in. And then I think when you get to the smaller companies, they don't really have the bandwidth or maybe the funds to pay someone to kind of manage this stuff, and they're just doing everything that they possibly can. So so we don't see it very often. If that answers the question.
No, for sure. Is there anything that you are seeing in the future for InvestNext or capital raising that you think people need to be aware of? Like, is there any change in like regulations or change in, conduct that you're seeing people do? Is there just anything on the horizon that maybe you kind of see coming because you're in it all day, every day, and maybe other people may not be as aware of it?
I was thinking about this at the gym actually earlier. Co-sponsor seems to be a thing that's happening a lot. And I think there's a way to do co-sponsor effectively, and there's a way maybe to not do co-sponsor effectively. Some will have one co-sponsor, which you're doing, someone's maybe asset management and they're actually a co-sponsor. Some could have 10 co-sponsors to a deal. And are they really a co-sponsor per the SEC guidelines? So are they actually creating value and then earning their GP portion for creating the value? Or are they simply just have 800 grand that they're throwing your way and the main co-sponsors? So I don't know if that's going to get maybe the SEC starts looking at that a little more. I don't know, but we do see a lot of co-sponsors, and then it's who owns the data, the main GP showing the data, the person, all that paperwork's coming back, and then everyone wants to hide the data from everyone else because they want their own spot, their own investors. They don't want people to see it. They sometimes don't want the main GP, but the main GP should see it because he's the one whose butt's on the line, or she's the one whose butt's on the line. And it's their documents that they're filling out. So they should know every investor that's getting trickled back up to them. So there's a lot of these that are just like hiding their own investors, which I understand. But I don't know. It just seems like it's getting to a point where there's a lot of people just co-GPing together, just to co-GP to earn some GP money, where it's maybe that needs to calm down a little bit. But I don't know. It's interesting because it's forced us to really look at the GP and the co-GP option, and how do we make this the way it should be, but then how do we open it up to enough to everyone? Because every GP, co-GP has their own way of doing stuff. So it's definitely breaking the old model of like one GP raised the cash, but now there's a bunch of different groups. And I don't know that necessarily everyone's bringing, it seems like some are just bringing cash where they should be bringing, investor relations or asset management or et cetera. So I don't know if that'll get looked at, but that's kind of something I've been thinking about. And I don't know how that looks, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, if it's still like it is, or if they kind of restrict it a little bit. But
yeah, I mean, I think without any of us being SEC attorneys, I think it's, people aren't necessarily aware that you may not be technically in the legal right to just raise capital and be part of the co-GP. From my understanding, and I think what you're saying as well, is you need to materially add something else besides just raising money, because it's not supposed to be a loophole around being a broker dealer, which is essentially what you're doing. You're trying to raise money without getting your license, almost in a way. So, without getting into the legality side of it, it's interesting to hear that you guys have started running into that, tandem a little bit, because I was talking to a buddy of mine who's thinking about raising money, and it's, this weird dance you do of, if you're a capital raiser and you get part of the co-GP, it's like, do you tell the lead GP the name of your investors? Do you try to hide it? Do you hide it until, the deal closes? And then what happens? Because it's like, as a capital raiser, you having your investors go through you is how you get compensated. But now if they know who the operator is, they could in theory go around you. But as the investor going through a capital raiser, you should know who the operator is, because they're the one that's going to make or break your deal. Like, it just always felt like a really poor setup to me, where, if you're trying to hide who's running the deal, how can an investor ever feel confident? And it should never be, because I just trust the person. That's silly, in my opinion, unless it's like a fund, in which case, you just don't know the deals beforehand. But they should tell you, hey, here's the operators we're planning on partnering with. Here's the deals we're planning on buying. We're raising a fund to invest in the deals that we like with these people. And that's not how it's set up often, at least from the outside looking in, when somebody's a capital raiser. And I just think it's a very weird dance and a tough setup. And I think I wouldn't be shocked if, they start getting, harped on a little bit by the SEC or somebody else, at least in a legal form.
Yeah. And I'm not like you threw the disclaimer out there. I'm not an attorney. And I don't know. A lot of people, I'm sure, are providing value to get their co-GP, but you just see that maybe down the road it's not. And I think everyone on our portal has been compliant and doing everything that they have to do. But it's I don't know if a lot of people do know that rule. I don't know the specifics or legalities of the rule, but it's just something I just see of a lot of people co-GP, and it's something I think should be aware of, that it's maybe just bringing cash doesn't make you a GP or a co-GP.
Then it's funny, but then you hear about these guys that have been raising money for deals without a license for decades, and they're like, they just got the old days, they just got the actual Rolodex of people with money, and they just raise money for deals, and that's how they do it. So I don't know, it's a weird spot where it kind of has this unspoken precedent for decades apparently, and it's never really been broken down on. But I wonder if the rise of technology and the eyeballs on it will kind of put a flag on it, so to speak, and if they will actually decide to take a harder look at it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, we see it a lot more. So it's just something I think anytime a bunch of people are doing something, I think it just kind of will put, like I said, more eyeballs on it. So
100%.
So it should be, I think that'll be an interesting area over, like I said, over the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And our goal is to try to make, like, how do we make it compliant? How do we, make it efficient? And then, set it up that way. So that's kind of what we're working on too. So.
Cool. Awesome. I think that's a great place to wrap up. So Brad, thank you so much for coming on. If people want to learn more about you, the platform, connect with you, where can they do all that stuff?
You can just email brad@investnext.com, our website, investnext.com. If you want to schedule a demo, check it out, or I'm on LinkedIn, not on any other social media at this point, but so LinkedIn, Brad St. Onge, ST.ONGE.
Perfect. Guys, definitely go check it out. We'll have all the links in the show notes for you if you don't remember it. But thank you everybody so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you are not already subscribed, it would mean the world to John and I if you would do so. And if you are, please send it to someone that would get a tremendous amount of value from this episode. Brad, once again, thank you so much for coming on, man. This is great.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys. It was good to speak to you again, and hopefully get to see you when I go down south again next winter to avoid the Michigan winters. And then John, hopefully I'll come see you at some point one day too.
No, absolutely.